Gaza, look at the thing.
Where you guys at?
Yeah, good morning. I think I'm on. I'm on. Can you all hear me clearly? There's copies in front here if you want to come. Sorry, I missed you. What I'm handing out is a page on the exchange rate that you will find in the quarterly bulletin review of the South African Reserve Bank. I will be referring to it on the slides, but I just want you to have a copy so that you can make notes on it. So if you're online, if you're watching live streaming, then you can find that in the quarterly bulletin of the Reserve Bank, the review. That's also available on SunLearn. You will find the review there in the beginning, where we talked about South Africa's interactions. I said, see the reviews. That was in the first bunch of slides as well. That's on the one side. And then on the other side, in the statistical tables, you will find exchange rate data. The first page with bilateral rates. These are the effective exchange rates. And we're going to talk about that just now to see what that means. So that is where we're going with this. In the session tomorrow, we will briefly look at South Africa's balance of payments. And what I want to do is, for those of you that are interested, in the last 10-15 minutes, those of you interested, I will show you how to draw a graph from your data in terms of the exchange rate for your portfolio if you want. On Excel, I will show you on Excel how to get the data in and how to draw a graph for the different exchange rates. Some students ask me, so we'll do that in the session tomorrow, the last 15 minutes, if you're interested. If you're not interested, then I'll let you go earlier if you finish your other work. Right. Okay, so I'll see all of you in the lab tomorrow. We ended with this article on the screen, the Glencore one, where we drew the exchange rate movements. You're all with me? Okay, so we're busy asking ourselves, what impacts the exchange rate in South Africa? We know that the exchange rate is determined by demand and supply of the currency. You now know that if we look at direct quoting, we look at what is the price of a rand for $1, and that on that market, we know the demand for dollars and supply of dollars would also be equal to the supply of rand and the demand for rand. Okay, supply of rand goes with demand for dollars. We supply rand to get dollars, and the supply of dollars is for a demand of rand. Those go together. So that's important. Right, so you're with me on that page. Now we ask, what gives rise to those changes? Why would the exchange rate change? Because the transactions underlying the demand and supply of dollars would have changed. Right, and that we see when we look at the Reserve Bank. They give us a summary. So I want you to learn this morning. As we go through that, see, I have little numbers. See, I've used little numbers to show the factors that actually impact on the rand, the exchange rate of the rand. Those are the things in your means that's important. Right, so I'm trying for you to see, so if you can see that today. What are all those factors with the numbers? And put them together, they actually give us the idea, from there, deduce what is happening and what news will impact the exchange rate. Not news per se, but the transactions that they report on. The news is just telling us what has really been happening. So those occurrences, those events. Okay, let's go. So you'll see this is taken from 2011. I'm showing you the exchange rate economic review part from 2011, then 2009, and then I'm moving to 2015. The reason being that different things happen in different years, and actually gives us really, really good idea of what are those factors. So if you today can see those factors. So if you work with me quickly here, first of all, in the Reserve Bank's quarterly bulletin, you read that. And you go to exchange rates. It says exchange rate. So let me show you just maybe quickly how it looks. If you go to the quarterly bulletin, you'll first find foreign trade and payments. That's where you want to go. Then you get international developments. I've showed you that a little. So if you go down, they give you all the developments, the growth, what we've been doing. We've talked about that. Then they get to the balance of payment. There's the current account, the financial account, all the changes. The debt of Africa's debt. Then we get to international reserves and liquidity. That's important for us. We'll say something about that before we talk, when we talk about the exchange rate policy, which is also part of what you need to say something about. And then you see on the documents page 47, exchange rates. So this is what I'm showing you now. So on the PowerPoint, we first look at 2011. This was the same thing that they would have said. And you have the page that I handed out is exactly this. You have exchange rate in the second quarter of 2015. So that's the third page that I'm going to show you on the PowerPoint. So that's where I get this from. Now this was in 2011. We can just look at that one. And that says a few things. So first of all, the heading. There's a difference between the type of rate that you get reports on. The direct quoting rates that we've been using, the rand dollar, the rand euro, the rand pound, those that we know are direct quoting. Those are bilateral rates. Write that down. Bilateral rates. What are bilateral rates? Bilateral means what? You all know about bilateral negotiations, bilateral agreements. What does that mean? Bi, two, lateral, next to each other. Okay, so it's one against the other, with the other, one with the other, bilateral. Two, so that is, the rand dollar is a bilateral exchange rate. That is also a nominal exchange rate. Just a jargon that you know what you mean. Nominal means the value as it is, the now value, the money value. So a nominal bilateral exchange rate is like the rand dollar is currently at what? We check today. You guys need to have that ready in your portfolio. Guys, check it. Somebody check it now. Right, go see. What is the rand dollar exchange rate? You need to know rand dollar, rand pound, rand euro, at least. Okay? And your own one that you chose. That is a nominal bilateral exchange rate, and typically direct quoting is used. Are you happy with that jargon? Okay, that's the first thing. Now, what we have in the Reserve Bank's reporting, they report on the bilateral rates. So there's a whole page that I didn't print for you that's in the statistical tables with the rand dollar, the rand euro, the rand kula, rand yuan, the rand whatever, right? But they also report on what they call that EER. EER is the effective exchange rate. Effective exchange rate, right? So they talk firstly here about the nominal effective exchange rate, if you look there. And then they talk about the real effective exchange rate. Now, what is that? on your page that I gave you. You will see that they talk there about the effective exchange rate of the rand, and then they have a nominal box and a real box. So what this is that EER, effective exchange rate, in nominal terms and in real terms. Now I want you to look and tell me what is this effective exchange rate by looking at that footnote. So if you go down to the footnote, what does that mean? In your own words, what is that? You can tell each other. What is this effective exchange rate of the rand? If you look on the other side of the table of your handout, this is from the Economic Review this year. It says exchange rates of the rand, and there it talks about a weighted average, and it says there with a little footnote, against a basket of 20 currencies. So one, what is the difference between effective exchange rate and weighted exchange rate? Is there a difference? That's the same thing. You can draw equal. The effective exchange rate in that other side and this weighted exchange rate is the same thing. That gives you an hint. So in your own words, what did you say? Okay, per group. Give me a page. Okay, page. Per group. Yeah. Just the page. Write the names of the people. Only the people here. Okay, only the people here. The people live streaming. Write me an email. Okay, so you need to send me an email before the end of class saying, answering the following. Come, you have the information there in your group. You can discuss this. What is, in your own words, the effective exchange rate? What does that mean? Okay, you have exactly 2 minutes. Okay, the question is, what is the effective exchange rate? So you need to tell me the effective exchange rate is equal to the weighted exchange rate of the rand, and then what does that mean in your own words? Per group, one per group with the names of the people here on there with student numbers, and the people who are streaming, you need to send me an email answering this to LNIEUW. lnew@sun.ac.za. And you have 1 minute and 15 seconds left. go. All right, can you quickly send it to the ends of the lines? Okay, so the online people, email your answer to lmiu, LMIEUW @swan.ac.za. Okay, we over, stop, go. Everybody send to the sides. Then I'll pick it there. The people at the end, can you just gather them? And then I'll quickly come and collect it. Right, come, everybody in. Send. Even if it's wrong, it's fine. You might have your name and everything here. And I'm going to get you something. Okay, so it's right, either of the sides, everybody's on the side. The side people can just collect them and put them on the bunch there, and I'll come to collect them now. Right, so what does it say? Okay, that is basically it. Right, so in your own words, you just say that the South African rand is normally quoted bilaterally, but here the Reserve Bank does the following. They say that it's important to know about the value of the rand in terms of, can we say, purchasing power against our trading partners. So that's that. That's the 20 most frequently used traded with countries' currencies. And then the rand is bilateral rates for all of those are put into a basket of currencies and then weighed according to the trade with those countries. And there you have the percentages. So we know that the most important currency for South Africa's effective exchange rate is the euro. Almost 30% of the weight that carries almost 30% of the weight in this effective exchange rate. The effective exchange rate is an average exchange rate against our trading partners according to the weighting of the importance of trade with that country or those countries in that currency. It's sort of looking at. Right, so that says what has happened to our purchasing power internationally. Has it increased or decreased against the other currencies? Right, and now we'll see what happens to that. So if we go back and we see quickly 2009, I'll do this quick now. Okay, so there's the nominal effective exchange rate in 2011 that has depreciated, and then they explain why. And this is the little numbers. So they say it depreciated, and then they say, yeah. However, the exchange value of the rand, and that is that effective exchange rate, was cushioned. That means what? It didn't depreciate so much, so this is a positive factor for the exchange rate of the rand. Strong demand for high-yielding assets. So that means after the crisis in 2008 to 2009, the financial crisis, investors were coming back at this point. So they had a stronger demand for financial assets in countries with a high return. That's what that means, which South Africa has. So that was one thing. Then secondly, and this we see all over the show, elevated commodity prices. Commodity prices were increasing at that point. So that's a positive factor for the value of the rand. And a sizable inward foreign direct investment transaction in which a non-resident party acquired a majority equity stake in a domestic retail and wholesale group during that period. That was when Walmart came in, right? And they purchased the majority shares of this company in South Africa. So that is made a big difference. That's foreign direct investment in the financial account. What does that do? They supply dollars, demand rand to purchase shares in a domestic company. Can you see that happen? On the exchange rate, what happens? The rand appreciates. Okay, does that make sense? You see it happening. You want to draw it? Draw it quickly. Draw it quickly. Okay, show me. This inward foreign direct investment, this inward foreign direct investment transaction in which a non-resident party acquired the majority equity stake in a domestic wholesale, retail and wholesale group during the period. Quickly show me on the direct quoting market, let's say it was an American company, so the rand dollar, what will happen just for that transaction? So only one line is going to move now. Okay, you can see what's the difference here. You have only one transaction. What was that impact immediately when it happened on the rand dollar exchange rate? So what you need to draw your set of axes on your own page in your notes. Set of axes, we have rand per dollar and the quantity of dollar. Demand for dollar, supply of dollar. Show me number 3, how that impacts on the rand side. And you have exactly 1 minute for that. Right, you there? Okay, so you have to focus here. You don't complicate it. What do we want to know? We want to know if we look at the exchange rate of the rand against the dollar. So we have the quantity of dollars, the rand of dollars, demand for dollars, supply of dollars. We start off at a specific level. At that point, we do not know. I'm just going to say, let's say at that point it was 10 Rand to the dollar. It was a little higher, but let's just take 10. Now I want to know only one thing. I want to know number 3. The inward foreign direct investment transaction in which a non-resident party acquired the majority equity stake in a domestic retail and wholesale group during the period. I just want to know what is the impact of that transaction on that graph. So nothing about the depreciation or anything before that. That was a positive factor. So we need to say, okay, what was the impact of only that transaction? So what happens in that transaction? Step number 1. Tell me, talk to me. There's a USA investor, a wholesale group. They purchase shares in South Africa. Okay, what does that do? Currency-wise, tell me quickly. What's going to be supply in the market? How do they purchase shares in a South African company? Where do they do that? On the JSE, the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. This company is listed. So Walmart comes and the investor, and they say, okay, I want to purchase these shares. What do you have to pay with on the South African JSE? In Rand. Okay, so what they demand, a lot of Rand to purchase those shares. So there's a demand for Rand that goes up. How do they get the Rand? They have to give dollars. So they supply dollars. All right, so that is what happens. And now I want to show that on this graph. This is direct quoting. So what will happen? What line is going to shift where? What are we working with? Dollars. Right. So what happens to dollars? Walmart supplies dollars. Okay, that's just that. Just that. Just this one focus. What was that single big transaction impact at that moment on the Rand? And it's not the only thing that happened that day, because we're just looking at that one moment. And yes, there were investors and stuff other side doing other things. But that one transaction's impact would be what? So we can't remember ceteris paribus. Do you remember ceteris paribus? All things else being equal. Right. So what happens? The supply of dollars, we said, will increase. So show it. There it goes. Supply of dollars increases. And what would be that single transactions impact at that moment on the Rand, and the next moment it's different again. You remember that? That would mean this is a trade, actually a financial account transaction that at that point would, let's say, just overdo it, 975 for instance from 10. So what has been happening to the Rand? Does that transaction depreciate or appreciate the Rand? Appreciate the Rand. Appreciate. Appreciate means less Rand is needed for $1, and more dollar is needed for 1 Rand. Why did that happen? Because there was a transaction in the financial account, foreign direct investment to South Africa, bringing foreign exchange into the economy, increasing our reserves. What are the reserves? Reserves are gold and foreign exchange. Forex, valuta. Right, you with me? You're following this. This is easy as it is. Just that, and every single transaction, every single thing, every single one of these numbers have such an impact. So there are transactions happening with investors, with people trading, with individuals, with governments, with businesses. That impacts the demand and supply of the currencies. And that would lead to an appreciation and depreciation. You with me? You see the causality. What happens first? What leads to what? Okay, everybody cool? Any questions on this? All right. Good. There we go. So we have, these are, can you see why that is a positive impact? It cushioned the depreciation. Still, it depreciated, or the value decreased, but not as much because of this. You with me? Then they talk about elevated commodity prices. There we have that. And a weaker US dollar partly supported the external value of the rand. What is this external value? The same thing. This nominal effective exchange rate, external value. Following this, nominal effective exchange rate of the rand decreased before, again, increasing, blah, blah, blah. And then the nominal effective exchange value of the rand decreased as the rand appreciated against all major currencies. Can you see the link? Major currencies, those would be bilateral exchange rates. And in that basket of currencies, which is the effective exchange rate, if the rand appreciates against the dollar, the euro, the yen, all of those 20 currencies, what will happen to the average? The average will also depreciate. And this nominal effective exchange rate is the weighted average of all the currencies with our trading partners. With me? Are you sort of getting there? Not Greek all so much, very much. Okay. You're welcome to ask. You're right. You sure? I'm not losing you. Am I boring you? Okay, that's the other part. Some you lose and some you bore. Then you're okay, I guess. All right, that's the nominal effective exchange rate. Can you see that? So the effective exchange rate is the weighted average of the bilateral exchange rates to give a weighted average exchange rate. You with me? And then we get, if you look at your at the statistical table that I gave you, and you look at the exchange rate columns there, then you see the effective exchange rate can be either nominal or it can be real. Who can tell me what would real be? By now in economics, you know that. Real would do what? Somebody please. It will take account of, I hear it. I hear it. It's a distant sound. Somebody's whispering, inflation. Yes, it's inflation. Nominal to real is always taking inflation differences into account. Right, so then it accounts for the differences in inflation in the countries. So it says, in the absence of inflation, so we have looked at that purchasing power change in terms of inflation rates changing. Then that is what would have happened to the real effective exchange rate. And that is what the Reserve Bank then reports on it. So they always just tell us in one sentence what happens to the real effective exchange rate. That's a real purchasing power value against our trading partners. Okay, with me. And in that year, it decreased. So there you go. 2009, quickly. I choose this one because, see, I have 6 numbers. So it's 6 things that you can learn from that report about the exchange rate. That was a fabulous year for teaching international finance, almost as good as this year. Because many things happened. 2009 was when the financial crisis impacted on South Africa. Okay, that was like in the midst of the turmoil and the trouble than with the financial crisis. You can imagine that year's portfolios. Fantastic news all around. Almost a little better than this year. This year is great, but that year was like amazing for learning something. All right, you with me? Cool. So what happened? The red line there, domestic currency benefited. And that was great because all of a sudden we had an appreciation year in the midst of all this turmoil. So we benefited mainly from what? substantial capital inflows into the country, just like what we've drawn now. So capital inflow will have a positive effect on the exchange rate of the rand. Can we see that? Right. Secondly, sentiment. See sentiment towards emerging market assets. Okay, that increased. Why? There was this big mess. It's just the opposite that it is now. There was this big mess in developed countries with their financial crisis. Collapse in America, collapse in Europe, big problems, toxic financial assets. And the developing, the emerging market economies, specifically in South Africa, our assets were sound. So what did the investors do? Sold their positions in the rest of the world and purchased on our JSE, our financial assets. Right, what does that do? That brings the supply of dollars into South Africa. Demand for rand goes up, and we have an appreciation. You're getting that already. You see, starting to see that. Starting to think, oh yeah, same story. You think, yeah, same story. Then you're cool. Right. So to the extent that I bore you, you know what I'm going to say. That means you know. If you still, then you've done, then you know yet. Then you still have to listen. Right. Then thirdly, changes in commodity prices. Do I see it occurring again and again and again? Yeah. 4, expectations on the improvement in the country's, South Africa's, deficit on the current account after the release of better than expected foreign trade data. So we did better. We had less of a deficit, more of a surplus in the trade account, which we'll see what that is soon. The trade account, the difference between exports and imports, right? We're going to discuss that in balance of payments just shortly, right? So those 4, that's 1, 2, 3, 4 gives you positive factors causing the exchange rate of the rand to appreciate. Why? The transactions led to supply of dollars to increase, demand for dollars to decrease, and therefore, and other currencies, and therefore appreciating the exchange rate of the rand. All right. Then the weighted average exchange rate of the rand. What is that? Hello? What's another word for weighted exchange rate of the rand? The nominal effective exchange rate. See, you've learned something. Of the rand declined by 6%. Why? Why does the currency decline? Here we have number 5 and 6. The recent downgrading of the IMF's forecast for global economic growth. Oh, do I see a pattern here? If the global growth rates go down, or the expectation of it going down, the forecast of it going down, then what do we know? The rest of the world have less income production to spend on South Africa's exports, for instance. Secondly, they will have less surplus funds to invest in South Africa's financial assets. So what happens? World growth goes down, transactions towards South Africa go down, less supply of dollar, sometimes more demand of dollar, impacting negatively on the value of the rand. You with me, guys? When I say dollar and read euros, yen, yuan, okay, you with me? Everybody with me? Cool. That one. And then, what now happened? A decline in international commodity prices. Cool. Okay, I want you to do for 2015 what I did here. So I'm not going to show you that. So I want you to look at your that handout. I'm going to give you 5 minutes, just that page, not much. And you do the same thing that I did here. I want you to number, listen to what you need to do. I want you to number on the document that you find in the economic review, this in the economic review of the South African Reserve Bank for 2015, see if you can find the things, how many numbers can you find of factors impacting, explaining the recent change in the value of the rand. Okay, you know what to do. Just like I did for 2009 and 2011, those little numbers, put numbers on this page. Now, 5 minutes, let's go. Thank you. The live streaming people, you can just look at that and write down the actual factors that you think have, they actually mention here, that have affected, influenced the exchange rate. So how many numbers do you have? 6. All right, you all ready to go? You have 6, 5, 7. Okay, let's see how many I have. I got 6. Okay. Not that there should not be more, but let's say what it, no, this is what's that. Now I got 7, 8. Actually, I have 8, but 1 is 2. Okay. So what does it say for this year? This is where we're at. This was for the second quarter of 2015. They start off with that. The South African rand, along with other emerging market and commodity-linked currencies. Can you see what they tell us already just in that sentence? I mean, that's a good test question. Emerging, now I'm just talking to myself, I haven't set the test yet. Maybe, note to self, good question. Something like this. Emerging market, it says South Africa is part of that. So what has been happening to emerging market generally? What's happening to South Africa? Secondly, commodity based. So immediately when they say that, you know that commodity prices was important for that period. And that's exactly what we see if we look at the data from the commodity prices. So then they talk bilaterally. The US dollar started the quarter weaker and softer US data releases, particularly non-farm non-farm payrolls data and GDP data for the first quarter. So what do they tell us about the US data is important? US growth, GDP, US workers' income. That's important for South Africa because we have trade with them. And the exchange rate with the dollar is also important because many transactions happen in dollars, even if it's not specifically linked to trade with America. Okay, so there we have the first one. Emerging market and commodity-linked currencies were also stressed by heightened risk aversion associated with the Greek debt crisis and a slowdown in economic growth in China. And you could have numbered those two different ones, okay? But I put them together as risk aversion because of what has been happening in Europe and in China. Why important for us? Trading partners, okay? Right, then, following at 0.2%, the nominal effective exchange rate, now they talk about the weighted average exchange rate of the rand, declined further. In April, it depreciated against the dollar, mainly due to broad-based US dollar weakness. Now, I just say the dollar itself because of that trade, and that links to what we've said in number 1 as well, right? However, during the months of May and June, the rand appreciated by The rand's weakness could be attributed to weak domestic economic fundamentals. So what happens domestically is also important. If you think of your news, domestic issues also weigh on the rand, such as growth, high level of unemployment. That weighs negatively on the value of the rand because of the transactions. Fears of credit rating downgrades, as well as Eskom's continued power rationing. Can you see the South African story? Also undermines sentiment toward the rand. Fitch and Standard Poor's to affirm South Africa's credit ratings curb the rand's decline. You can put that as one. What does the credit rating say? As did the narrower than expected first quarter current account deficit, South Africa's transactions recorded. So what has been happening with that? As well as a better than expected trade balance for the second quarter of 2015. We'll talk about that tomorrow as well. The domestic currency weakened further in July and August amid the sell-off of Chinese equity market, concerns about the strength of the Chinese economy following the devaluation of the Chinese yuan, and further downward pressure on commodity-linked currencies. There you go. Can you see it? Okay, you go. I'll see you in the lab tomorrow. Have a good day.